Well, this is our fourth episode.
I think it is. Yeah, we'll call it fourth.
I think
it is. Yeah,
I think it is.
It's the fourth of what we got planned anyway.
Yeah,
So.
Cornbread Confessions, episode number 4.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we're doing pretty steady. I mean, it's been the past couple of weeks we've been busy, but we've gotten back at it.
Yeah.
So we're picking it up now.
Yeah, I was fixing to say he's been out on the road. I've been doing
road.
stuff on the weekends and just trying to catch up.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely.
But,
well, like every episode we've done so far, this is Cornbread Confession. I'm Owen, and
this is Logan.
And this is Cornbread Confession. I'm gonna dab it up like we do every weekend.
That's right.
So what are we gonna talk about today, Logan?
All right, so this episode we are going over the future dreams, like what's the the big dream, the big plans, just what we got, what we think is going to happen ahead of our lives. We kind of talked about our trajectory in the last episode, kind of where we've been, and to give an idea of kind of like where we're heading in life. But we wanted this one to kind of talk more about kind of what our overall plans are, what our financial plans are, kind of how we see the world, and how we plan to keep going.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we can get started on it. What do you want us to kick it off with?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about this at all, kind of where we're at first, just give everybody a little context of where we're at.
Okay, yeah, I can. So this right here is called the Locust Fork River. We're not in Locust Fork, we're in Susan Moore right now, but this is the Locust Fork River that we're on, and this is where I grew up at for the most of my life, just up and down this river, and there's a kayaking business up here that most of the people probably that would be viewing this would have at some point in time come down this river. River Beach Outfitters, I believe, is the name of it. But that is, that's this river. If you've ever went on that float, then this is the river that you've been on. But yeah, we picked this spot today because, well, it's a really pretty spot, and I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to notice it, but back behind us right here, this is an old bridge. It's not a railroad bridge. What would they call that kind of a bridge?
I mean, it was just a little crossover bridge for,
Yeah.
I mean, just like an old single lane car bridge.
Yeah, single lane car bridge. It's set up like a railroad bridge, but there wasn't a railroad that come through here. But I actually remember walking across it. I've never drove anything across it, but I do remember walking across it before it fell down. The tornadoes got it in, what year was the tornadoes that come through here? Do you know? 11 or 12, I guess. That don't make sense.
I can't really, yeah.
I don't know.
2011 is when a lot of tornadoes come through.
Yeah, but I remember walking across it though, like whenever I was 16. So that would have been 2017. Yeah. Was there more tornadoes that come through at that time? I think it fell in 2017 is when it fell, because I remember in 2016, I vividly remember walking across it. So I believe that was the year that it had fell. But before that fell, I mean, I wish I would have. Obviously, you don't know that it's going to fall, or I would have obviously come down here and took pictures or something. But it was absolutely beautiful. You could walk across and look down this creek for miles, and it was just, well, not necessarily for miles, but you could just get in a daze of just watching the creek and the wildlife, and nothing new that you would have been on that creek or up on that bridge, and that you was watching it. And I don't remember the name of that bridge either. I might need to look into that, but I do know, talking to my grandparents and whatnot, I remember hearing them talk about it and how they used to cross it. So that's very neat to me anyway.
I think what was neat is what you said before we hit roll on this thing about you can't really see it probably in the video, the two sides of this where there's like a little bit of a road going up this way and a
Yeah.
little bit of a dirt road going up that way.
Yeah, so we're on flat rock right now. For the most part, I mean, the terrain is really flat right here where we're at, and for as long as I've been around here, there's always been a trail going from this side of the river over to the other side, and I mean, ever since, I mean, me going through school, I know for sure, and I've drove my pickup truck through here, and I went to school this way a bunch of times, and rode my four-wheeler to football practices and whatever else I was practicing, just it's a shortcut, actually a very good shortcut, and
Worked out
it,
pretty
it
good.
comes up here on a hay field, and you get on the road, and there you are pretty well at Susanmore High School. But
Some people go to school in the city, and it's just neighborhood after neighborhood. That's how Owen got to school.
yeah, pretty well, yeah.
So,
It's pretty unique.
but
But I love it out here, though. I mean, it's somewhere you can go and you just get a clear mind. Like last weekend I was in Colorado, and I went to Garden of the Gods, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it was awesome to look at and just hang around. But also just being here is just as amazing to me.
place looks like it tells a story.
It does, and
I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of the beauty
I
of it.
absolutely love just being able to be in this area, and thankful that I get to grow up in the area that I have gotten to grow up in, and just getting to hang around this just beautiful country. I'm very blessed to be able to do that.
This is the kind of thing that builds you.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
this is where, this is what builds you into what you are, not just today, but tomorrow and in your future. And so I guess we can talk about that a little bit. So tell me about, you're right now truck driving, as we discussed in the last podcast, but you're right now over the road, like you said, going all the way out to Colorado Springs, going to New York tomorrow. I mean, all over the place. What do you think as far as your future? Do you think that's something sustainable that you're going to want to do, or what do you think kind of beyond that?
Well, Logan, I'll tell you, it's definitely something that you can fall back on. If nothing else, it's a good, it is a good way of living, a good way of life. Trucking is, for the most part, I've never met a broke truck driver. If that says anything.
Yeah, it pays.
Everybody's got a good, decent paycheck every week, or
Right.
every other week, however they get paid. As far as that goes, me personally, I feel like I have gotten in the truck driving world at a very young age, and I'm able to take advantage of my age and get the experience, because nowadays a lot of people, they're not able to get into that line of work until they're a little older because of insurance purposes. So I'm very blessed to be able to getting in this line of work at a younger age. Me personally, it's something that I'll always have around in my life as far as CDLs go. Dump truck, local driving, whatever the case may be. I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and I have been all the way up to Seattle, Washington. That's pretty well all the way on the other side of the
Yeah.
United States from us right now.
Yeah.
I've been down all the way to Key West. I've been up as far as New York City. I've never went past there. I've been all the way over to California, the bottom side of it. So I've literally
big
covered.
red X over the whole U.S.
I've basically went
Continental US.
everywhere but Alaska and Hawaii, and it's definitely something that that I would say if you've never seen before and you get the chance to go see, I 100% would say go do it. No matter how much it costs, it's something that it would it's very awesome to be able to have that experience. But back to me personally, I have learned to love the more simpler things in life the older I've gotten, and I would love more than nothing else but to just have a piece of land and a house and um,
Yeah, this
you
place,
know,
call home and
kids and a wife and
yeah,
a dog and a yard full of chickens or whatever the case may be, and
yeah,
and just I'd be completely. The older I get, I guess, the more content I'm getting with what I'm able to have.
yeah. You realize where the real gold is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
For
feel like
sure.
sometimes we go through phases in life like that where we kind of chase things that we look back and we know it doesn't really matter. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I'd say one thing I know me and you talked about before, and this is kind of why I was asking on truck driving was, as part of that plan as part of the long term plan. Me and you got talking about you know like being home, being able to see your kids and stuff like that. Do you think that'll have any kind of interference? I know you told me a few good stories from other truck drivers too of what it's like being out on the road, and especially if you've got on in years and got a family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that'll fare? Do you think that'll be something that you'll continue to be in, or do you think you might go shorter loads, or what do you think?
Well, unfortunately, talking about that, the money is always going to be on the longest run possible you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the bigger company you go and work for, the more typically the bigger company that you're going to be able to go for, the more likely you are to be just a number to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the downside. Yeah, like you said, I've heard plenty of stories from truck drivers that have been working at bigger companies, and I've had pretty interesting encounters with truck drivers um, that I work with now that have very interesting stories about that. Like I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say any names, and this guy I know probably will never actually see our podcast, but he told me one time that I don't remember. Well, I'm not going to say what trucking company he worked for either, but he uh, he was hauling a load up to uh,
Michigan.
Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and he had gotten up there and was waiting in line to get unloaded, and he got a phone call from his wife that his son had drowned in the river behind his house, and the trucking company that he was working for told him that if he left what he was doing to go home, that he was going to get fined for the load that he had on him for not delivering it. And that kind of gets back to what I was saying. You turn into just a truck number when you work for bigger companies like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thankfully able to work for someone that's very family owned and very family oriented, to where if that happened, I've heard a story of somebody that works at the place I'm working at, and uh, not that situation happened, but his wife had gotten sick and he was up somewhere and needed to be back home right then. He told him, hey, whenever you get, you know, whenever you get to where you can, unhook from your trailer, turn your e-log off, and drive straight home. I don't care, what anybody's got to say about it. Family comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's uh,
That's got to be rough.
Yeah.
It being that far away from home,
And you have no
even
control over that, you
yeah,
know.
you're just kind of helpless. Even if you were to catch a plane, especially if you was across the country, that's just got to
Yeah,
be tough.
it is. It
I
is.
couldn't
Yeah, traveling,
imagine
and it's not just truck driving jobs, man. I mean, traveling
traveling
in
jobs in
general.
general.
Yeah, I mean, if
Nobody ever
you're
thinks about that.
nobody thinks about that, you know.
That people in truck driving and a lot of these traveling jobs in general are, putting putting their family on the line.
In a way,
They're in a way putting time with their family on the line in a way that, uh, if God forbid something were to happen, or even some of the good things, big things that happen in people's lives and stuff like that. You may be 2,000 miles away while your kid's having a graduation or something. Just because duty calls, and so it's kind of it can be tough. Probably depends a lot on who you work for, like you were saying.
yeah.
If you're working for a good family-oriented company, it's not going to be an issue, but it'd be something that you have to kind of weigh in. That's what you get paid for, and it's tough.
Well, and yeah, and I mean, how much does what all does money mean to you? Well, not
Right.
what all does money mean to you, but I mean,
Yeah, could you
I
imagine getting
mean,
that call, your son's drowned, and I don't think I would care anything about money. I'd be like, listen, you don't have to pay me for the load. I'm going home.
yeah,
I couldn't imagine. You get to a point you're not even seeing or thinking of money
mm-mm.
at that point and that level. Uh, you know, it kind of it makes you reel through your head. I'm sure a lot of just life decisions in general. Kind of wishing you would have been there. That kind of thing. I just couldn't imagine the mental pressure that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's part of what these people put on the line, doing that, long term. Um, but but yeah, so that's kind of where you're thinking as far as you think long term. You're probably gonna go mainly stay in the truck driving world. Anything to do with CDLs or
Yeah, long term, uh, if I went to school and I'm invested in my line of work for CDLs, uh, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I feel like I feel like I have uh, fulfilled my calling,
mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. That was my passion and what I enjoy doing, and um, yeah. But like I said, the older I get, the more I'm gonna be leaning toward doing something more at the house, at home,
Mm-hmm.
something, But and whether or not, I mean, shoot, I mean, if you go work for the county and you got your CDLs, I mean, that's pretty much job security.
Shoot, you could be
You
a
know what I
broker.
mean? Anything.
I didn't think about that, but working from home as a broker and stuff
Yeah,
like
as a
that. It
broker.
seemed like your dad has done that for a little while, or
Yeah. Mhm.
So I mean, there's definitely options even in that career space.
For sure. Yeah, but just not just just being at home and just being more at home.
Hmm.
I
Being
mean,
there for people.
being able to be there for people. I don't have kids right now, and I don't
Hmm.
have a wife, but one day they're going to be counting on me to be places, and
Yeah,
I'm I feel like that's part of being a man and uh,
as being a
signing
father.
up for that.
Yeah,
You having a kid, signing up for that duty. And yes, I'm not ever gonna uh, disown you for uh, having to work and take care of your kids and having to be a truck driver to take care of your family and everything. I'm just saying, me personally, I have gotten into truck driving before I had kids or had a wife versus most people that got into truck driving after they got a wife or had kids,
hmm
and to where it's I'm able to take advantage of being able to uh, take advantage of the situation where I'm not having to work because I have
yeah,
to provide for other people. I'm working because I want to, and it's providing for me. You
dude. Yeah,
know,
that's
that's a
kind of
that's a big thing right there, man.
Yeah,
It's something
that's where I'm at.
it is something so, and I'm not being a smart ass when I say this right here, but just listen well, I'm looking at the camera when I say this. It's something so simple that even birds know how to do it. You know, build your nest before you lay eggs.
Hmm. That's what you got to lay the foundation. Can't build a house with the roof first,
You know.
you know.
But let's talk more about you now. I feel like I've kind of rambled on for a while now.
No, no, it's all good stuff.
What's
That's I mean, as far as me, career-wise, where I see myself. So as of right now, and I probably didn't explain it as well last time. I work at Turner Construction. I'm a steel estimator, and so I work for our fab shop. And in the short term, I would say it's very, rewarding. I personally like it, enjoy it. Um, it's everything from a little bit of math, a little bit of going out in the shop and getting familiar with things in the shop. And it's a great opportunity to build relationships within the industry, with what I do. A lot of what I'm doing day to day is making phone calls all over the U.S. for different projects across the U.S. within Turner's domain, and um, essentially setting up ourselves for success as a fab shop that would both, fabricate the steel and also ship it and install it in the field. So a lot of that I'm working to coordinate, and so a lot of times I'll talk to, erectors, the installers, and all these different states, and get familiar with the lay of the land there, and kind of what it's going to take to get steel in this building, get this building erected. So it's in the short term very rewarding. I would say for me personally, it's something that I think long term I would want to move just from steel. I would definitely very interested in the construction industry, but I would want to move from the steel space maybe to concrete, and then maybe to MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, that sort of thing, and start to diversify my knowledge of what it takes to actually build a building.
mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been very fortunate enough being in the steel industry to get to see behind the curtain of what goes into these commercial buildings that we see, and industrial buildings that are the foundation of how we run in America. And I get to see that firsthand, and even things like data centers and lots of different projects that are going on, and in general, we get to be involved and hear about that. So it's very neat. I think ideally, once I've kind of filled out a lot more of experience there, I'm a bit all over the place because my background is in mechanical engineering. So I would say that for me, I'm very interested in all things engineering, and so I get interested in everything from the design to the implementation, the process of building it and making it happen. So I started in mechanical engineering thinking that would give me a good overview of the engineering discipline as a whole, and I think it did. I got to touch and see a lot of different things with that. And then kind of went into construction, one might call more of a civil engineering route. But I would say in my personal life, I found a strong, I guess, curiosity or strong um, want to go into like anything to do with computer engineering or software development, that kind of thing. That's been something of a lot of interest to me, but not necessarily for what you would think. I love working with my hands, and as in my current position, unlike what my work history has been, it's been a little bit less of hands-on and a little bit more, working at a computer, which it can be kind of a catch-22. It's something I enjoy and everything, but it's a bit unfortunate considering I don't think that our bodies were really made to do that. As long as we do staring at a screen and that kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think something that would be very fulfilling to me is to be able to work in something in general with my hands like construction, but then be able to implement tools and software that would actually help with what we do in the real world. and that's where I really like the crossover in construction. Is I'm seeing that now. I'm kind of sitting in that seat somewhat to be able to develop in that world, and so it's something I've been really interested in is how can I take things like AI that's going on in the world and take different deep learning architectures and things like that and apply that to say the still estimating world, which I've started to get my feet more wet, as you can see, and get a little bit more ingratiated with what it means to not just produce a good still estimate, but what could be done to make it better and actually create a more efficient process to like do that kind of thing for you using AI. Almost cutting myself out of the equation, or at least part of the task and the job that I do day to day. Now, it's probably a bit far-fetched to say that it would totally strip out the need for a still estimator or an estimator in construction. I don't think future-wise that's something that I would see coming in entirely into place, just because there always is, at the end of the day, we're doing things for humans. So there's always a human touch and human element.
Yeah.
But I think that right now in my life, I would love to be able to at least create tools that make things faster that are a lot of menial tasks to do with my job, like looking at drawings and blueprints all day, taking off drawings and things like that, being able to use AI to do that, so where I'm working more on the other side of my job, which is making phone calls and kind of building relationships with people to do work for us as a company, as a trade partner, and be able to go on and build bigger and better things, that way with people, instead of, being stuck doing a still takeoff, at up to like 3 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I would say career-wise, that's what I see, my trajectory. What about you though, from I guess a financial standpoint? What are your thoughts on like things like loans? Are there things like that you would never get a loan on, you would never borrow, or that you would? What's your view as of right now as a 20 something year old?
Well,
Uh,
I don't know if other 20-something-year-olds would think about stuff the way I think about, if that makes any sense.
Right.
But
just money in general.
yeah, and the way that I do things, I'm not saying that it's worked out the best for me, or by no means, this is the way you need to do it. But me personally, the biggest thing that I look at is I'm not about to take a loan out on anything. I'm willing to take a risk on anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to take a loan out on anything that I don't think I can make my money back on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's anything.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicles, house, land, business opportunities. If I don't think that I can make my money back on it, if crap hits the fan,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take a loan out on it, and or make money on it. You know what I mean? If
That's a good head to have on it, because you got to look at everything as like an
Mhm.
investment.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a much wiser way of conducting business in your life in general, is
Mhm.
thinking of it that way.
And that's the way I've, for the most part, always, not always, I've not always been, I can't say that, but uh, the last 4 years of my life, I've definitely taken it more serious, and I'm still young. I'm only 23. Maybe 23 years of my life, or not 23 years of my life, but maybe 3 years of my life. But I've definitely taken stuff more serious as far as that goes. But you know, that don't mean that I wouldn't go out and buy a dirt bike.
Uh-huh.
Just for an example. I don't have one, but just for an example.
Right.
If I think I can make $1,000 on it
Mm-hmm.
the next day, maybe somebody needs to get out of a hole and the bank's about to own it and they want to try to get out of it. you know, I'm always in my mind and in my head and in my pocket, I am always trying to be able to jump on some kind of deal like that,
Right.
you know, and then we'll turn around and make $1,000 on it if I could, you know, and that's anything, you know. I mean, I'm not scared to buy a rock if you tell me that it's a fossil, you know, and then if I'm actually into that and know what that is,
Yeah.
you know, and able to tell, you know, and you know, I'll turn around and sell it for more than what I bought it for, or if not, break even with it. And I mean, and it's not. I know a lot of people probably would disagree with it, you know, and you know, stuff that I've had and whatnot. You know, people would definitely disagree with because
Well, everybody lives their life different.
everybody lives their life
Some people live
differently.
in the city and they'd be like, I'd never see a need for foiler, you know, kind of
Exactly.
thing. But
If
the
I'm
reality is where we're from, that's, you know,
exactly, if I'm able to buy a four-wheeler in 2024 and ride it and have fun and hang out with all my buddies on it and just, you know, just have a great time on it for, you know, the rest of 2024, and then 2025 rolls around and I sell it, not make anything on it, but sell it for as much money as I bought it for. Well, I just basically, it was a savings account in a way.
Yeah. You talking about if you were to make money on it, yeah.
Well, if I sold it for as much money as I had it in, you know, I invested
Oh, I
that
got
money
you.
into it, let's say, you know,
Yeah.
and then I got that money back. I wasn't ever blowing it, and I got to have fun. I got
Yeah.
to have fun with the money that I had,
Yeah.
and then I still got it back,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's if you can ever pull that off, that's
If you can do
definitely.
that, yeah. I've
Which
done it before many a times.
I tell you one thing I've learned, and this is one of those things that it seems like the rich are always looking for too, is not just even the break even aspect of it, but what can I take $1 and turn it into three? And you've already touched on it, mentioned it, that that's kind of how your thought goes into it anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would say that like one of the things I've learned is the power of investing, and if you can really be smart with your money and realizing maybe necessarily what you need, enjoy your life, but try to enjoy your life in a way that doesn't just financially burden you. And like, I think a lot of people think that's the material things that make the social things happen in their life, or the, you know, the different experiences happen in their life, but a lot of times it's just a matter of position and knowing people and stuff like that.
Absolutely, that's
And
got it so much to
think
do
about
with
it,
it.
like, dude, like I don't have a boat,
Yeah,
but guess who I know who has a boat?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So like, you know, does it make sense for me to buy a boat at 24?
Not if you can just
You know, hit you
already,
up and be like,
yeah,
hey,
not
you
if
know,
you can just
let's
have
go,
one.
let's
Yeah,
go out late.
absolutely,
You know, so like
absolutely.
it can sometimes not always be about what money you have and what things you got around you, but just knowing people. That's a powerful thing. Knowing how to let you know, in relationships and stuff like that.
And this is
building
getting
that.
on a it's getting on a touchy subject that I know it's going to be burning a lot of people up just listening to us talk about stuff like this.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it like this.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
there's some that might be watching this 40, 50
they
years
didn't do
old
it like this, and it bothers them that we even think this way. You know,
Yeah.
and who
Yeah.
says we're thinking of it the right way? But you're exactly right, though. I mean, but bring up what you was talking to me about yesterday about untouched money is no. What would you say? Something about investing money?
Yeah. So like,
Bring that up though, because I
well,
feel
like
that's
how I think through investing or that kind of thing. Like,
well, like if you $100 that you spend today could have been $100 that you invested in something, so you're
Yeah.
really spending $2,000.
I got you.
You know.
Yeah, something I thought was really interesting. I heard is there's a way of thinking of things that, as far as your investing goes, most people don't think about when they just go and buy like something at the store, like, you know, a pair of boots or whatever. They'll see the sticker price and they think that's what they're paying for it. But an interesting thing that I heard is like some people think of that $200 they might spend on a pair of boots as like $5,000 a loss. and that's kind of a drastic example, but like $5,000 is, you know, a lot even on a long term. So like $200 today is like not near as much as you would think. $5,000. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted.
No, you ain't got to bring it up.
we,
Don't
we,
even bring it
we
up.
had a waterfall situation
You don't have. You didn't have
for
to
like
bring that up.
a quick second, but
I was trying to be quiet.
just figured we might pick that up in the mic and thought I might mention.
Yeah, well,
But
way to paint a picture in someone's head.
yeah, so
We didn't have to bring
no,
that up.
it's majestic. You know what I mean? It's majestic out here.
Well,
But
Mother Nature called, brother.
hey, nature calls. But no, but what I was saying, what you was telling me to go over was like what they call opportunity cost, where somebody
Opportunity cost.
yeah, they call it that because that $200 that you could have spent in boots, you could have spent in something that would have made you way more money, such as like mutual funds or some kind of investing medium. But like a lot of what they're referring to, a lot of the people that have really made their money compound and work for them, have invested in things like growth stock mutual funds, the stock market. And the reason I even say stock market is just because it's one of like the easiest ways nowadays to do it with just an app. It's not anything that is difficult as it once was, and you could really get some compounding returns on it just making simple moves, like not even, you know, having to be very technical with a phone or anything, just simply doing it. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of people you hear talk about investing ways they think's better, and everybody's got their own opinion on it. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing it, if you're not drinking your own Kool-Aid, then what are you making it for? You know.
Right.
So like, I think a lot of people don't think about that. What they spend and what they do and the decisions they make today compound into what tomorrow is. And that goes for financials, but that goes for a lot of things in life in general.
Yeah.
So, you know, you may think it's a small decision today, but it can definitely compound on you as time goes on. So, and growth and long-term mindset, I think like that is what sadly you don't see in a lot of 20-something-year-olds these days, you know.
And just having, I'm gonna add something to that, man. I feel like and I know a bunch of 20-something-year-olds. I try to build my circle of people that I talk to on a daily basis around people that have the same mindset as I do. As far as, you know, even you, you know, I can talk to you and I can have adult conversations with you, where, you know, a lot of people, they're so distracted with what's going on in the world today, they're not able to look in the future and get ahead of the game, and that could be as far as, you know, I mean, wanting to go out to bars every night and wanting to blow their whole paycheck that they made on Friday that weekend, to, you know, them just so solely focused on getting some cooter.
Yeah.
You know, excuse my French, but I mean seriously though, they're not able to actually focus on what they need to be focused on, and it will hurt you in the long run. You know, the longer you wait to actually start having that mindset, you know, the worse off you're going to be. And so that's, you know, another reason why, you know, I say, like, and I'm thankful, and I know you are, and you might not see it as much as I do, but I'm 23 and you're 24, and we're able to look at life in the perspective that we're able to look at life at, and it's,
Yeah.
and, you know, I just know, you know, we're taking advantage of it 100%, but it's more than just taking advantage of it. Like, we're going to be ahead,
Yeah, man.
and I know we will be.
Well, I just think in general we're incredibly lucky just to be Americans, dude.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you really like sit there and think about that,
Absolutely.
how much that sets you up. Like we can sit here on a podcast with like iPhones talking about the American dream
Mm-hmm.
and what that American dream is. There's so many people that can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's something that nobody ever thinks about here. Or nobody ever really. Everybody kind of gets caught up in their own world,
Yeah.
and doesn't realize just how good we've got it, even with like the simple things, like the
Yeah.
fact we've got electricity and like water and anything like food that we would never have to cook in our life, just at our fingertips, is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's been better than we live. They say that the poorest of the day can live better than anybody on earth just 100 200 years ago because of just the technology we've got now.
Yeah.
You know, it's gotten so crazy and out of hand, but it can definitely be of our destitute too. I think times because technology can be used in both good and bad ways. You know, when
Absolutely.
cars were invented, you know, that's a good thing. We're able to ship things across the world, but also be a bad thing. People drunk driving. You know, it's kind of like used to if you had a horse, you know, and you were drunk, that thing would
It
it'd take you
knows.
home, man. Like nobody thinks about that, but
Yeah.
there's always like a trade-off in a way to what you're doing in life and what technology comes our way. I think that happens a lot with all the AI stuff you see in the news and it keeps coming up. Um, I, that one's a really interesting. And I'll be honest, like I could go on that for probably like an hour alone on AI, just the sheer amount of things going on in that space. But what's your thoughts on AI and stuff like that? I know me and you've talked about it a few times, like with your
Well,
phone and everything.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what have you noticed?
Well, AI, as a redneck living in Alabama, you know, we're obviously not as tech savvy as somebody in New York would be
Right.
because we don't have to be,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, but I try to look at both sides of the field before I try to play on it.
Yeah.
And like the AI stuff,
Do you
I
think it's scary? Do you think a lot of people around here
well,
are just scared of it?
well,
Like they don't?
naturally, me just naturally, uh, I think that AI is now on phones now.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, I'm sitting here saying, like obviously what and even like Elon Musk and everything, like they'll tell you, and the reason people put it on their phones and stuff is to make your life easier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I just naturally, me thinking out loud here, I'm saying, our brain is supposed to be in our head, and we're supposed to use it.
You think that a lot of this people are going to try to rely on it too heavily?
Yes, I think that
Yeah.
most people are going to be relying on their phones, and their phones are going to turn into their brains,
It's
where
just
that don't need to
another
happen.
part of that happening
But it's
anymore.
just
Yeah.
because of how, and I do agree. It's obviously nice to have an easier way of living,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may be, by your phone having AI on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's nice to be able to just have everything done for you, but there comes a certain point in time where you need to use your brain a little bit,
Yeah.
and you're just not
We get
able.
so
You don't
reliant on
have
it.
to.
Yeah.
You just don't have to anymore, and it's scary to see how much and common sense is a superpower nowadays.
Yeah. You ain't kidding.
It really is.
You ain't kidding.
And it's just scary to see how many people rely on technology and AI and everything, but like they seriously do not have common sense whatsoever.
I think that's a fantastic point you bring up. And I
Yeah.
say this because of this. And you can ask anybody in the AI industry this. In fact, a conference that I went to, one of the people that had worked at OpenAI even touched on this. He mentioned that one of the key things that AI can't do and it can't fully replicate is common sense. And it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense
Right.
because it's at the end of the day, it's a computer recognizing patterns,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and trying to iterate on those patterns. So like at the end of the day, it's only going to know what you can feed it and stuff like that, but it just doesn't have the common sense understanding of like human life and doesn't always get it right with that kind of stuff. So I think of it in general as it's more of a tool than it is something to like preclude humans and human emotion and things like that. One of the things you see a lot of times too is these things, these AI robots, stuff like that, emulating emotion and even trying to do that kind of thing. And it can really sell you because as a human, it's very close to and very seems very real. I think the way that these models are bringing things out, but I personally think it can never fully replace what it means to be a human being, and that AI, as much as it tries, it's kind of man-made machine versus man itself, and I don't think we can outdo God on you know on design and construction and engineering. I just don't
Right.
think we
Well,
ever
I
will.
know we can't. You
You
know,
know,
he's the one that gave you the ability to think the way that you do.
all right.
Uh, but yeah, yeah,
Nobody ever thinks about that common sense is one of those things that's getting lost. And
it
on the
is
flip
getting
side of
lost.
it, it's something we're trying to rely on systems
Yeah.
to take you know, or a lot of people that may not know as much about AI might try to rely on that for things. But now some of the things they mentioned too is even at a basic level, common sense that it can't do. Like it doesn't know like, you know, what walking around sometimes is, you know, different depending on the model and stuff. So like,
Well, I mean, just being in the streets, you know, just the
yeah,
street knowledge. You come up to a street sign, you know, let's say your phone don't tell you whenever the street light turns red,
yeah,
and you just don't actually, there's people, I mean, it sounds stupid, but there's people out there that literally can't rely on not having their phone to that
yeah.
extent to telling them when you can cross the road and when you can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
And that's
I
sad.
think we whether we like it or not rely on a lot of stuff we take for granted, and that can be one of them. One, you know, really building on that is like even for us, something like electricity that I would say most Americans take you know for granted as something that like if that were to go out, you know, you'd have a lot of people messed up. Now
You
I'll be
would.
honest with you, I think a lot of the people around where we're at, a lot of people around here would not have much much too much of an issue. I mean, it would definitely be like it'd be noticeable changes, but like I think people would come together and not really have much of an issue. But people in these densely populated cities, like where almost everything they do to move and get around operates on that, and when you take down things like elevators not working and things like that to be able to get out of buildings and you know like just all of that kind of compounding can be you know crazily different perspective in the city
Yeah, it's just, I
for
mean,
something so simple that we just take for granted
what
that can
people
be
just
taken out.
are relying on so much, you know? It's just,
I think that's why it's important that we learn just basic common sense skills, even people that don't have any sense and stuff like that, knowing you know what it means to go out and start a fire. Like you know
yeah.
that's just a basic. I think it's just a basic human need to be able to like
I mean,
interact with the resources you got around you.
let's
You
be
know.
real, okay? All the power goes out at once, you
Right.
know, and you have to start a fire, and you can't look up on YouTube
Exactly.
how to start a fire. Are you going to be able to start a fire?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You don't have a lighter or anything?
No.
You
I
know
don't
what I'm
have.
saying?
I've got a like a lot. You talking about you asking me, or like you just saying in
Well,
general
I
to
know
these
you
people?
know, I know you know, but I'm just
Okay.
saying, you know, general, you know, and just people
Most
in
people.
general
Yeah.
know, like they're don't they don't know how to do none of that stuff, and without looking on you know without just you know
Like
it's
Googling.
just
It's
it's
almost come
crazy, man.
reflexive, like being able to just Google something. You
Yeah,
know. So
yeah,
like it's just wild to think that we we've got so even used to just the information age, being able to access YouTube and Google, those
And-
two things alone.
It just those two things alone, man. YouTube is crazy, man. But like,
Mm-hmm.
and people, but you know what's also sad is people up north, man. They think, you know, if anybody from up north seen us, you know, they're either gonna think that it's the coolest thing in the world, or they're gonna think we're dumb hillbillies, you know,
Yeah.
and that's really sad.
It is.
Because I mean, how much further we
There's a
would be.
lot of ways to look at life, and
There
sometimes
is.
people look at life through a lens of IQ.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
One thing, like,
I don't have a high IQ. You know that.
Well, I say this though.
I promise you. I feel like I promise you. I don't feel like I know. Like I know that I am smarter than 80% of the people in the country.
In the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Seriously.
I can believe that. Really,
Like-
I do believe that.
But I don't. But my IQ is probably, you know, probably 80% of the country has a higher IQ than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
I see what you're getting at. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
I don't. Yeah, it's.
just all around.
I can't. Yeah, man. I can't spell and I can't read that well.
Well, it's like they talk
But-
about. I've seen even these rich people you see on YouTube all the time talk about how it's not necessarily about IQ as much as it's about EQ. And there's IQ that stands for intelligent quotient, and then there's EQ, which is called emotional quotient. And you know, IQ, you know, you take an IQ test, but EQ is, they say, a much harder to test for and stuff. And they say that is one of the highest indicators of success in people's life, depending on how you want to define that. But
Maybe I need to take an
EQ
EQ test.
EQ is one of those things that most people don't think about. That, yeah, it can take sometimes a certain level of IQ to be able to get in certain places in the world. But
Yeah.
then again, having a high level of EQ is extremely powerful and way more powerful than, and it's also something that you can work on, like emotional intelligence in general is something that, you know, you can build on in your life, in your day-to-day, that maybe not always IQ is something that you would want to mess with as much, you know, because it's not always what gets you where you want to go in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a very good point you brought up. You
Yeah.
know.
What do you think about Bitcoin?
Oh, Bitcoin,
Let's bring that up.
dude. Yeah. So I guess bringing it back into the investment strategy side of things.
Yeah.
What do I think of that?
We're dissing on electronics and electricity and
Yeah.
and that sort of Tesla type ideas, but Bitcoin. Okay.
Dude,
So
cryptocurrency is crazy. What do you think?
okay, so I'll say this: I made money on Dogecoin when
Oh, yeah?
it was high.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't invest very much, and I made $700 and some odd change
Yeah.
off of it whenever, you know, during COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was really my only investing in a
It's something like online platform. Some form.
yeah.
I
That was
gotcha.
kind of my only thing, and I only did it because everybody else was.
Yeah.
You know
yeah.
what
It
I'm
was just
saying?
a trend.
Just a trend that had happened. But tell us about Bitcoin, but not just the investment side of it. Like, do you think that Bitcoin is going to be the future as far as the way of paying for stuff?
I'll be honest with you. That's a tough question to be able to say. Do I think in the future or not?
Mhm.
It would be, and I only say that
well,
just because nobody knows the future. But I
We'll
would
say in our lifetime.
just in our lifetime.
In our lifetime.
I think it could definitely be very prevalent. I don't know that it will replace part of how we do things like debit cards and being able to pay with your phone and stuff like that. Do I think cryptocurrency will preclude the American currency and things like that? That's a tough one to say. I personally don't think so, but
Well, let me just say this right here, man. I have been to numerous. I've been in numerous places.
there's a Bitcoin ATM and stuff. I've seen those.
How
dude.
did you know I was about to say that?
That's
That
what
is
I'm saying.
exactly what I was about to say.
No, it is.
And I've
seen 'em.
and that's a little scary.
That is one thing. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Like, I will say this one thing that actually I think crypto and a lot of these currencies like that, online currencies like that, have going for them
Yeah.
is that they're built on an infrastructure that it keeps people from like taking advantage of it way more than just like the American dollar and any kind of like physical traded goods. Like one thing that most people don't know about is like the way those work is it's built on a network that keeps up with every server and every place knows how much everybody has. So principally what happens is everybody can, you could have somebody over here that says, no, I don't have just 100 Bitcoin, I have 1,000 Bitcoin. And 1,000 Bitcoin is like, you know, it seems like it's obviously a lot, but what happens is there's going to be servers everywhere else that says, no, he doesn't have 1,000 Bitcoin, he's only got 100. That's like rudimentarily how they say that kind of works. There's some currencies apparently that I don't think operate on what they call that the blockchain system, so it doesn't actually work that way for all of them, but I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is one of them that does. And so that's something that I think part to consider, I guess, in what you might want to invest in your life is the fact that it could be something that provides a weird sense of security that way. But would I say put all your cats in that basket? Definitely not, because it's built on electricity. It's built on man-made things that at the end of the day, it doesn't do anybody good if the grid's out.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and let's say, I like to, because, you hear so much, and I like to think of, history repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's look back. When did coins start turning into paper? You know,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's paper now. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Paper notes.
people like us and everything. Bitcoin's coming on right now, and we're saying, oh, it's an electronic thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it goes out, yada yada. People back then, whenever coins was turning into paper, what they was saying more than likely was it can catch on fire.
Oh yeah, that's a good
If
point.
a house burns down, it's all your money's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have paper? You know, like I don't know if just
If that'll
looking
be a
at that.
made roadblock, you think?
Well,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, and I don't
You're right
know.
though. I don't think it will be a major roadblock for most people, and I still don't really think it's a bad investment with kind of
Well,
leveraging yourself right in that situation.
and not just that, but just going off the information that I just given, from coins to paper,
mm-hmm.
from paper to from electricity. Like, think about the people that went ahead and turned all the coins into paper and started, go ahead and with the paper and stuff like that. How much further ahead in life they was by the time everybody finally was like, okay, we have no choice now but to go with paper.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Think about how much more ahead in life they was.
Yeah.
Because they went ahead and done that.
They did it.
Okay. Yeah. So we're sitting here now and we're like, Bitcoin, oh, I don't know. But if we went ahead and did it like they did with paper, if we went ahead and was like, let's just jump on it. How much ahead in life do you think we'll be because we went ahead and got on Bitcoin?
Yeah.
That's also scary to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. You really, you have your set of chips and you got to say where they go.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's investing in a dirt bike or investing in cryptocurrency,
mm-hmm.
it's all on where you want things around you to go. But I think at the end of the day, it does come back to resources. Do you have the resources to be able to make things happen in your life? That I would hate to get to a point where in the future, my kids, say if like I'm trying to get food for my kids or whatnot, but we only take Bitcoin or something,
Exactly.
You would not get yourself in that situation.
Exactly.
You'd be like, you're gonna go with that.
Mm-hmm.
If it came down to it. you know, just as from a basic human survival standpoint. But I think it's one thing that you have to meter, because there's always, like you said, can be trends come up that everybody hops on, and that happens a lot in the investing world, obviously too. I think as long as you have a strong sense of principles set on a long-term time scale, if you have those embedded in your mind with what decisions you make, it can make all the difference in how you look at really money in general. I think that's something that it continues to carry throughout time. It's not always the people that always wrote articles about, you know, this is the best trending like stock to actually go hop on because it's about to blow up, you know, kind of thing. It's about to rocket off, you know, like the reality of it is most people like that think in such short-term increments, stuff like that, don't always, they'll do all that work for sometimes less of a even, you know, reward in the long term, if not maybe meeting it at the most. But uh, you know, some of the best investing advice I've ever heard is some of the easiest, and it's investing in stuff like Vanguard, total stock mutual funds, and stuff like that, to where it's not complicated. You're just investing in all of it, and it essentially is
Yeah.
the way they set that up. And those index funds are so broad that things can happen and go up and down, all that kind of stuff. But over time, because it's representative of the American economy, can be very fruitful. And so, not saying that's obviously another place I would go put all my, you know, all my peas, you know, but I would, it's definitely something that, you know, if you're wanting your money to compound, that's like one avenue I've found, at least what I've looked up, to work very well. Um, so there's a thousand ways to do it. Everybody's got their way, but at the end of the day, being able to take care of what you need to take care of the people you need to take care of, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've hit probably about a hour and 20 minutes now, so I guess we're gonna wrap this up. I hope y'all enjoyed this and episode of Cornbread Confessions, and maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Who knows?
Hey, that's
You
what it's
know?
about.
Yeah. But
So
like we said to start with, I'm Owen,
this is Logan.
and this is Cornbread Confessions. So we'll wrap it up.
Appreciate y'all.